Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I didn't upload last week because it was a holiday and I didn't have a chance to record with all of the kids here all the time. Anyway, it is Monday, so as you know, that means it's a Mom Truth Monday. And I don't know if this is really a mom truth per se, but I was talking to Irvin. I think we were on our way to Knott's for Luna's birthday, which was the 30th, but we went the 31st. Anyway, that's not the point. We were talking about a video that I had done a while ago. I will put a link somewhere up here, about talking to your kids about puberty. And I know it's like not something we really have fun talking about, and it can be kind of embarrassing to talk about, even though it's something that we clearly all went through and our kids are going to go through. But that led us to talking about the more embarrassing things in parenthood that you need to talk about, puberty being one of them, and the birds and the beads, the sex talk is clearly another one that parents just, it's very uncomfortable to talk about. I grew up in a Catholic household and sex was not talked about. It was just, no, you do not talk about sex, you do not mention it. I was given a very, very, very brief explanation of sex when I was, I want to say 12 or 13, and it was very basic. It was, it's something that you do when you're married to have children, and that is it. That was my entire explanation of it done. One of my aunts, however, she went into more graphic detail, not a lot more graphic detail, but more graphic detail. When I was around 14 or 15, she's like, "Your mom had a sex talk with you yet?" And I'm like, kind of. But she's like, "Well, tell me what she said." And I told her, and she's like, it's way more than that. But that was kind of the norm. I did have sex ed in school. I live in California. California is one of the states that has a very, very good sex ed program. But it's only like half of it. I think that you need to sit down and talk to your children about sex. It's very important. No matter what your take on it is, whether you're very abstinence only or rather you're, you need to know about birth control options. You need to know about the options should you become pregnant and you are a teenager or really any age. You need to know the options that you have available to you. And a lot of people don't ever talk about that with their kids. I got pregnant when I was 16. I was a junior in high school, and not that I wouldn't have kept her had I known more of the options, because I would have. I adore my daughter, and I would have kept her regardless of knowing that I had options. But I didn't know any options. I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna have a baby whenever I'm 17, and that was just kind of that. But I think that my lack of knowledge of birth control, number one, my lack of knowledge in general when it came to that world kind of led me down the path to where I was naturally curious, and I listened to my boyfriend, and now we have an almost 16-year-old ourselves, and that scares the crap out of me. It scares the crap out of me knowing that my daughter is almost 16, and she's been raised primarily by her father, and he and I don't necessarily see eye to eye when it comes to educating her about sex, and especially about safe sex. That's a stark contrast to Irvin and I, who are raising the younger our 4 children, and Sarah has known all about several different types of birth control options out there, both male and female, since she was like 10 years old. Maybe not 10 years old, but 10 is typically when I do start having that conversation about them, if they bring it to me. Brooklyn's gonna be 10 next year. I'm not gonna go up to her and go, "So you wanna know all about sex now, Brooklyn?" I'm not gonna do that. One of the reasons is because basically she's just not interested in that yet. But if she were to start asking me questions, I would start telling her more graphic, age-appropriate answers. For example, when I was pregnant with Sam, she was 4 when he was born. She asked me, well, how did the baby get in your tummy? And I gave her a 4-year-old truthful answer, which was, your daddy put him there. And she just went, oh, okay. And that she went back to coloring or whatever, because it is the truth and it's age appropriate. I was not going to go, well, and then, you know, the whole complete answer. But I think you just need to figure out, why are we so embarrassed? It's something that is healthy to do. It's something that almost all adults do. And realistically, a lot of teenagers do it. Statistically, the average age in this country for a girl to become sexually active is 16, and for a boy it's 15. And I'm not necessarily saying that children that age should be having sex, because they absolutely should not. But it's a reality. Teenagers have sex. It is a reality. And I think we need to ask ourselves, do we want our teens to be completely and fully informed about sex and about safe sex practices? Or do we want to have a bunch of teens walking around knowing absolutely nothing about sex, and we end up having a lot more teen pregnancies because of that? Like I said, I was taught abstinence only, and I was a teen mother at the same time because I had a lot of curiosities about it. And studies have also shown that children who are exposed to proper sex education do choose to wait longer to have sex, or make safer sex choices when they do have sex as teenagers. And I've told my kids that are old enough, I have told Autumn and I have told Sarah, that if you choose to have sex before, you know, I really want you to get to be 18 before you have sex. However, at any time in your life, especially if you choose to have sex whenever you're very young, you need to protect yourself. And I always tell them, look, a very, very real outcome of sex is parenthood. And unless you're ready to make the choices you need to make as a pregnant woman, whatever that choice may be, maybe you should be old enough to actually understand that choice, which is why I always say I really want you to, be at least 18 before you have sex, because I know in my heart, I am pro-choice. I'm 100% pro-choice. And in that means that I got to choose what happened to my body. And for me, my choice would not be to end a pregnancy. However, I do respect anyone that has made an opposite choice. That is absolutely their right, just like how it was absolutely my right to choose not to end my pregnancies. I did have miscarriages, but again, that was not exactly my choice. That was more like nature happening. But anyway, I don't want my girls to be 15, 16, 17 and have to make that choice. My sister, one of them, does not want to have children, and she has said in uncertain terms, would she get pregnant, she would make that choice. She's 28 though, and 28 and 18 are not the same thing. And I would be supportive of her in that choice, should she ever find herself in that position. The thing is, though, she and I received, despite growing up in the same household, our father was more present in her life during her teen years than he was in mine. My dad really wasn't around until I was 15 years old. At that point, I had been taught my whole life, there's only one, you don't have sex until you're married. And she had too, but because she was 10, it was different. She got, he was supportive of her going on birth control when she wanted to, when she was, I think, 15. He was supportive in that. He was supportive in me in my choice, although not always 100% supportive in my choice to keep having children. He was just a very supportive person. And I'm not saying our mother is not supportive. It's just that she's very old school when it comes to things like that. And that's totally fine. But I think that you need to be relevant. And what she was teaching wasn't relevant. And I hope that what I'm teaching my children is relevant. And not everyone agrees with it. Some people are like, no, 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 children should know nothing about sex. And that's what you believe. That's fine. You're entitled to that. However, you need to know you're setting your kids up to potentially be teenage parents. And I'm come from a place of experience. Like I said, I was taught abstinence only. I was taught wait till you're married. And I was taught that sex is only for procreation. I was never taught that it could be fun. And that has caused a lot of issues in my life because it can be and it should be fun. It should not be just for a baby. It should be entirely for whatever you want it to be for. And it should, the most important thing I think you should teach your children is that sex needs to be safe and needs to be consensual. Those I think are the two most important things when it comes to talking to your children about sex. Yes, obviously you need to go through some of the mechanics of it. I'm not saying you need to graphically go through it, but a basic understanding of it should be done. This is a topic that I could talk for a very, very long time. I am very passionate about teaching children about not just their bodies, but about how they own their bodies. And one of those is sex. And they need to understand that as much as they possibly can about it. I don't think that anyone truly has a full understanding of everything about it, even these so-called sex specialists, therapists, and all that. There's, everyone's gonna have questions, and that's totally fine. And it's fine that, not all parents have the, and if you don't have the answers, then I think, or if you feel too uncomfortable or whatever, I totally think it's okay to, there are some things about sex I don't feel comfortable talking to my children about. Even someone like me who I have a wide open door, there are some things that I just don't know, or I'm just not 100% comfortable saying to them. And Irvin is not comfortable at all talking about that stuff with his kids, and that, again, that's fine, I guess. But you need to be able to say, I'm uncomfortable talking to you about this particular thing, but you need to be also able to say, however, here is some information that you can have. Like my sister, for example, is like, hey, they have questions, you don't know how to answer them, or you don't feel comfortable answering them, I will answer them. And I guess I had that same thing with my aunt. Like she came to me about it, but I'm thankful that I had her, because had I not, I don't think I would. She was invaluable in a lot of senses, but that's another one that she was very invaluable in. Anyway, this video is already 13 minutes long, and that's a lot longer than I had intended to make it, and I feel like I rambled a little bit and said the same thing a lot. Basically, sex is not something we need to be embarrassed about talking about with our children. If we're okay talking to our best friend about it, and again, not the gory details, but we should be able to talk to our kids about it, because it's a fact of life, and without sex, our kids would not be here. And yes, even the children that come from IVF, there is some form of sex, whether in that sense it's more like solo sex, but it still had to happen in some way. Anyway, that's going to be all for this video. I'm sorry it's so long, it's kind of rambling. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you guys again later. Well, probably next week. Bye.